Hi, I'm Faraz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hi Chelsea, how are you?
Hey, good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to be a guest all the way from down under.
Oh, yeah, thank you for having me. I feel really honored to be on your podcast.
But it's great that I think you came across as someone I wanted to interview because obviously you're active on LinkedIn. You're forever promoting, and they're the type of people we want as guests because the whole goal is to create awareness, and you're doing that regularly. And I don't think it's that long ago, but you're an MVP now. If correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So yeah, I thought it'd be a good timing to bring you on. Also, always want to interview people who are in all parts of the world. Haven't really interviewed too many people in Australia, mainly due to time zone issues, but we've made
Yeah,
it work with my evening and your morning. So I
pretty
appreciate
convenient.
that.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to, for people who may not know about you, a bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Chelsea Veenstra. I'm originally from the Netherlands, but currently living in Australia. I'm a Mendix MVP, like you said, and I'm also a Mendix certified expert developer. I have been working with Mendix for around 8 years now, of which 1 year here in Australia. I work for Cape Digital Solutions, um, and back in the Netherlands, I worked for Cape. Um, Cape is one of the first Mendix partners in the Netherlands, so lots of experience there.
Yeah.
But other than that, like about me, I love CrossFit, so I'm a big
Okay.
CrossFitter. I have like I love reading fantasy books.
Cool.
I love playing computer games, so I'm also kind of a nerd. Um, yeah,
Cool. Cool. And just to kind of rewind, when did you or when did your passion in obviously you've already kind of probably given me the answer, but obviously if you're into computer games, usually that's where IT kind of adds on. But when did your kind of passion for IT or interest come in tech where you thought, okay, I want to pursue a
yeah,
career in technology?
yeah. So I originally don't have an IT background. So I studied business administration and then specialized in innovation and entrepreneurship. Um, and during my studies, so we learned about that IT projects often fail because they are not able to bridge the gap between what the business wants and what IT is building. So I thought I was very interested in, can I do something about that? Um, and within my studies, I just already emphasized learning a bit about that stuff.
Oh,
And when I graduated and started looking for a job, I came across Cape, who offered a
yeah,
traineeship. And basically, they focus on business oriented people and then teach them how to build software with Mendix. So, yeah, that really got my attention. I applied and got the job. So that's where
amazing.
I first came into contact with Mendix. So during the application process, I already had to do like a case.
Okay.
So I spent my whole weekend going over the Mendix Rapid Developer learning
Yeah.
paths and really trying to understand what was happening. So not just do like a trick and follow the instructions, but
Yeah.
really understand it. And I thought it was really cool. And also what what made me realize when I was working on the learning paths is that when I was doing my studies in entrepreneurship, so I did my master's degree in Berlin, which was very
Nice.
practical.
Yeah.
So one of the courses we had to come up with a business plan with like a business idea, and we were doing that with all business people, right? So business students. So we
Yeah.
came up with this very cool idea, but no one could actually execute it because, well, no one could build actual software.
Yeah.
And then now I could. So now me as a business student who has all these cool ideas could actually build them. And I think that's amazing. I love doing that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And as someone who hadn't kind of worked in technology, right? And obviously you're playing around with this new platform.
Yeah.
How easy was it for you? Because obviously they say low code lowers the barrier,
Yeah.
for non-IT people, but how much does it? Like were there bits where you were stuck? Did you feel there was a lot of knowledge lacking that you needed to kind of get up to speed with?
Uh, yeah. So definitely, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled at the start. Um, but my first project within Cape was a pretty complex one, and it was already there for a couple of years. So I came in from the side, and there was a lot of complex stuff, which was really hard to understand. But then at some point, we could start an application from scratch. And then I had to go through the whole process of talking to the business and exactly finding out what they want and then drawing out the actual process flows. And then that helped me so much to understand how to build that in Mendix as well, because it's basically one big process flow,
Yeah.
right? Um, and that's when it clicked. So yeah, definitely struggled at the start, but I had really good mentors
Yeah.
within Cape who could, and also training. So I had a lot of training
Yeah.
internally at Cape, which got me started. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And with the training side, was there any, because obviously with low code, there's still it's better if you have some understanding of traditional development. Was that part of the training, or did you manage to just get by without that?
No knowledge about traditional coding
Okay.
whatsoever. So I just went by really just focusing on the business process
Mm.
actually. So and then the rest came after that.
Yeah. And
I do
with the sorry, go on.
Yeah, so I do struggle with the concepts of, for example, databases at first,
Mm.
or all like the IT jargon that people used in meetings. But I think whenever you start with something new, also if I would have started like with a job more business, like a business oriented job, I still would have struggled with jargon and new stuff, right? So
Yeah.
you only start learning when you start the job. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's best to be thrown in the deep end because it gets you kind of paddling,
Yeah,
right? And kind of just
yeah,
going for it.
exactly. You're forced to
Yeah.
adapt and to learn. So, and for me, it works. I mean, everyone learns differently, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it works to just go, go and do it and then learn along the way.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the most interesting way to learn.
Yeah.
You don't have to, please don't put me in a room and just send information at me because
Yeah.
I will fall asleep. Yeah.
It'll go over your head, right?
Yeah, it will go over right over my head. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And with the kind of learning process, how long do you think it took you where you felt you were comfortable kind of, obviously like you said, you had people helping you, mentors,
Yeah.
people, senior people, but that process of starting and then being on projects, when did you feel comfortable when you were doing things like, okay, I can do this unsupported?
Yeah. So I was pretty uncertain about myself. Like my first commits, like
Mm.
my heartbeat was through the roof because I was so scared I would break something. But and I think the first months, I
Mm.
was just doing a trick. So I knew that somewhere in the system there was something similar, and I would look at that and then just copy it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's how I started learning it, just copying what's there and trying to understand.
Yeah.
Um, and then that, yeah, like I said, after like 4 or 6 months, I was given the responsibility because my mentor, he realized how I learn, and that's just
Yeah.
by doing. So he gave me
Yeah.
that responsibility for that app from scratch. And that's when it clicked. So that's also what I would recommend anyone.
Yeah.
If you don't have the opportunity to, within your job, start from scratch, just go and do your own hobby project or ask your company if you can have some time, on Friday
Yeah.
afternoon. Give me some time to work on something that I'm interested in. So for example, I built like a um, recipe app. So I was
Oh,
tracking macros, and then
yeah.
I built like an app that had like a database of ingredients behind it with all the macros, and
Wow.
I could like configure recipes, and that was what I was something I was really interested in. So
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on it, and that helped me in my learning process so much.
Yeah.
Because then you also encounter stuff that you don't necessarily encounter in your daily
Yeah.
job. So yeah,
And I
we
guess
found
there's less pressure when you make a mistake when it's your own little kind of
yeah,
a side
definitely
project where
because
if
you can
you,
just start over.
yeah,
There's no
exactly, you can start
one. Yeah,
over and
you
it
can take
allows you
all the
to,
time.
yeah, and it allows you to learn, right? I think, mistakes are good because then kind of the next
Yeah.
time when you come across it, okay, I remember what happened last time. Don't do
Yes,
that again.
exactly. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head with your observation that mistakes are good. And
Yeah.
I think learning how to use low code, you also need to have a culture around you or like that encourages making mistakes
Hmm.
and where you can make mistakes safely. So, for example, with my mentor, I knew I could make mistakes because he was my safety net.
Yeah.
And he really encouraged, like, please make mistakes because um, that's how you learn. And we even got like this fun little ritual we had with my team. So um, to encourage, uh, to encourage also telling you made a mistake.
Yeah.
So what we did was whenever you made a mistake that took someone else or you or yourself an hour to solve, for every hour it took to solve, you had to bring like a meatball, like a
Okay.
homemade meatball.
Yeah.
So we would count all the mistakes you made for a whole
Yeah.
quarter. And then at the end of the quarter, everyone had to bring their own homemade meatballs, and we would have like a big lunch
Yeah.
with all the meatballs, and yeah, we made like a little event out of it. So that was really nice.
That is really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah,
At least you can celebrate with good food, right? Hopefully it's good food that,
yeah,
all the mistakes.
yeah. True. It was always a really fun afternoon. So, and that encouraged that culture that I was talking about. That
Yeah.
mistakes are okay, and um, yeah, it's just an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you ever feel any kind of, because I get this a lot when I speak to people who especially don't have an IT background, and then you're sitting in a room with people with, IT, years of IT experience, right? Did you ever have any kind of doubts, nervous to speak up, kind of just, okay, well, or were you just in the zone, you were just kind of comfortable?
Oh yeah, I had doubts all the time.
Mm.
Um, but what really helped me was, so we used so even when I'm not really like an expert on the technical stuff, I could always add value to a conversation by falling back onto the methodology.
Yeah.
So being more being comfortable with methodology and the process gave me that confidence that I could speak up. And then in
Mm.
the end, like with experience, came also the confidence about the more
Yeah.
technical stuff, right? So um yeah, I think that really helped me at the start.
Yeah. 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 That's great. And, obviously, you're sitting in Australia, even though you're from Netherlands, what kind of drove that move? What was kind of, the reasoning behind it, why you wanted to do it, and how did that
Yeah.
come about?
So I think moving to Australia, well, yeah, moving to Australia has been a dream for a long time. And because of, I just wanted to experience some sort of adventure abroad.
Mm.
And then Australia is the perfect destination, right? It's English speaking because I speak Dutch and I speak English. I
Yeah.
don't speak like any other language. So if I wanted to go abroad, it would have to be like an English speaking
Yeah.
country. And then the weather is amazing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go from like cold and rainy
Yeah.
Netherlands to some old other cold and
Canada,
rainy
something like
place. So
Canada, -20. Yeah.
Canada or the UK. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
rainy in the
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah.
And then the working culture here is pretty good. I mean, I've got to work hard, but it's not like crazy like the US where you have basically no days off. So
Yeah.
I feel like Australia is the perfect destination if you want to have like an abroad adventure and work abroad for a while. And then this opportunity came up within Cape. So actually, one of my colleagues, he was moving to Australia, and then our CEO was like, I've had conversations with Mendix, and they have asked us to come to Australia, but it was not on our roadmap before.
Yeah.
But since you're moving there anyway, maybe it's a
Yeah.
good opportunity to try and start our business there as well. So he came here. I think that's almost 3 years ago now. And he started up the whole business. And
Mm.
the first moment that this email went, well, through to all the people in the company in the Netherlands, like, this colleague, he is moving to Australia and he's going to try and start up a company there.
Mm.
I immediately reply like, "Oh my God, if you ever need someone to go there to do the projects, please let it be
Yeah.
me." So when it finally the time came and we could do our first like proof of concept,
Mm.
of course I applied, and eventually was picked to go here. So I did a 3 month pilot first for one of our clients, and then it was uncertain if, well, I mean, the pilot went great.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were very happy, but then of course it's always the
Yeah.
question if they want to move forward.
Yeah.
And it took almost a year to come to
Wow.
that conclusion. And then, yeah, I could actually move here for good.
That's amazing. And
So
so did you
yeah,
do the pilot in Australia or did you do it remotely?
no, it's in Australia.
Okay, fine.
It's impossible to do it remotely.
Yeah.
So especially with the time difference with the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I think our philosophy at Cape is we work together with the clients quite intensely and
Mm.
preferably on location. So that's what we did for the
Yeah.
pilot as well. So we worked really closely together with the client, and yeah, you just had to be on location.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
amazing. And obviously with relocation, I think there's less people, who do these big relocations these days because of remote working,
yeah,
and for various reasons. Can you talk me through some of the kind of high? Obviously, it's exciting, and it's a new adventure. But there's also stressful times as well. Can you talk me
yeah.
through the highs and lows of relocating, especially to like you said, like it's the other side of the world, right? So, kind of, how was that process for you?
Um, so in general, I'm a pretty chill person. So,
Yeah,
um, of course, there was some things that were stressful. Like we have our own house in the Netherlands. We bought the house,
mm,
so we needed to find like tenants
yeah,
because we wanted to rent it out. We didn't want to sell it. Then you have to get rid of all your personal stuff, right? So when you have the space, you store stuff that
a
has
lot.
like
Yeah,
yeah, you store a lot of stuff, but also stuff that has emotional value, right?
yeah,
So not
sure.
necessarily like really high value stuff, but
Yeah,
things that you have memories from, and then you have to go over all that stuff and think about what am I going to save and
yeah,
what am I going to throw out. So that was kind of hard to throw out all the stuff or get like sell it or give it to like
yeah,
other people. We didn't throw out everything, but that was kind of hard to realize that now everything you own fits into like 3 boxes.
yeah, yeah,
That's it. Um, and then yeah, there's lots of like logistics
yeah,
you have to do and coordinate, which was all right. Just start early and then you will be fine. But the hardest thing, yeah, of course, is leaving your family and friends
yeah,
behind. To go to another country where you know no one.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, on the other hand, there's the excitement of the adventure, and I love meeting new people. I love experiencing different cultures, so that balanced that out. And I was lucky that my colleague who was the first one
yeah,
here, I'm the
yeah,
second one here, that my colleague who was the first one here, he's also, I know him very well. We've worked
yeah,
together pretty intensely in our time in the Netherlands
yep.
as well. So, and I knew he was here for like 2 years, so he could give me
Yeah, a
all the
lot of
tips.
tips. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's great. That's
yeah.
great. And since moving, what's your favorite Australian food then?
Ah, I don't know. I don't feel like Australia has like a very like really
I thought you were gonna
good.
say meat pie or sausage roll.
They have like the parmies, like which are the
Yeah,
big schnitzels with
yeah, I
like
love them.
cheese on it and stuff. So
Yeah,
that's pretty good. But what I especially love about Sydney is that there's lots of authentic like
yeah,
Japanese food, Chinese food, like Indian food.
yeah,
So I think that's my favorite thing here,
yeah.
that there's lots of authentic other culture food.
Yeah, amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
And with the low code market, obviously, like you said, your colleague was moving, so Cape decided let's push this market. But the overall, I think, not even just Pendex, the low code market in Australia isn't like Europe. It's very small. It's still
No.
years behind. How you've been there for a few years. How have you found the market? And are businesses when you're, I don't know if you're in these conversations or not, but when you're kind of speaking to customers, are more people now aware of Mendix or even low code?
Yeah. So I think Mendix only came to Australia 3 years ago or
Mm.
something. I think OutSystems was here before, so I think
Yeah.
OutSystems is a bit bigger and well
Yeah.
known in Australia than Mendix is. But in general, low code is not as mature.
Mm.
So when I look at like the Mendix ecosystem, it's very, very small.
Yeah.
I feel like I know everyone in Australia
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
has any form of Mendix experience. So there are a couple of other partners. And we really see other Mendix partners not necessarily as our competitors,
Yeah.
but also parties we need to work together with.
Yeah.
Because in Australia, companies really want to hear about other Australian company success
Mm.
stories. So so we first, as an ecosystem, need to create those success stories, and
Yeah.
then we can grow and
Mm.
succeed all together. But we first need to, work together to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we've been doing a lot. So we have been working together a lot with other Mendix partners and with Mendix itself. And there's a couple of success stories right now.
Well,
So in the last year,
good.
there have been some like really successful projects delivered, and now, uh, like I like I told you before, it's been pretty hectic
Yeah. Yeah.
last
Yeah.
month, and I feel like that's result of these success stories,
Yeah.
right? So we're starting to get traction here, and yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Mm.
There's great things going to happen here in Australia, in like Mendix wise.
Yeah, yeah. And it's nice for you that, you've got when you've moved there, like you said, the market's not big, and depending on how long you'll be there, it'll be not for you, you'll be able to experience the market. You'll be able to look back and say, 5 years ago there was
There
barely
was
anyone, and
nothing.
now it's
Yeah,
boom. And I've been part of that process of, you've been kind of creating awareness. Obviously I see you do a lot of user groups and things like that as well.
yeah,
And I think all those things will definitely, one, drive customers, but also drive developers to consider becoming a
yeah,
Mendix developer, which is also a problem, in the
yeah,
market to find people willing to do it.
yeah. True. So and you start from scratch here, right? So also with training people.
Mm,
So in the Netherlands, you have lots of companies who
yeah,
do traineeships, or they have very established
yeah,
trainings. There's nothing here. And
mm,
also, of course, like we can use our resources from the
yeah,
Netherlands, but
mm,
to be completely honest, a lot of it is in Dutch. And also,
yeah,
culture-wise, I think training should look a little bit different here than it does in
yeah,
the Netherlands. So
yeah,
you even though we don't start from scratch, it's still exploring and
mm,
improving and figuring out what works and what does not work. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And yeah, I think you're right about, obviously, you mentioned obviously you're pretty laid back and chilled out, so you fit what Australians are, right? Laid back and chilled out. So I think
yeah.
but most of Europe, probably there's a bit of adjusting, if people move over, there's a bit of a
Oh
adjusting
yeah,
period for sure.
especially if you're Dutch and you're going to move to Australia, you're going to struggle with the indirectness. So, um, yeah, you've probably heard it before, but
Yeah,
Dutch people are pretty direct in
yeah,
communicating, and it's not because they are being rude. It's
mm,
just because they like the
yeah.
efficiencies.
Get their point across
So
fast,
just tell
right?
me what's going on, and
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
solve
yeah,
it. That's it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
here you have to, beat around the bush a little
yeah,
bit. You have
yeah.
to sandwich it.
Warm them
So
up. Yeah, warm them up.
yeah, yeah. Um, So for a Dutchie, I'm not one of the most
Yeah,
direct ones,
yeah,
but still had to adapt a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. And especially with Mendix kind of being so young in Australia, and now everything's about every conversation. If the two letters AI are not in that conversation,
Oh,
then people don't want to listen, right? It has to be
yeah,
in every sentence, whether you
yeah,
like it
yeah.
or not. So how are you finding, with the rise of AI, how are you seeing kind of conversations in the market? Is that kind of, slowing things down, making people more hesitant, more questioning more, okay, why should I look at low code?
Um, yeah, it's like you say, every client we talk to is interested in what can you do with AI. I think, well, there's multiple parts to this, right?
Mhm.
So on the one hand, Mendix is working really hard
Yeah,
to bring tools to developers, like AI tools to
yeah,
developers to use in like the development work to support the development work. I think that's still in the very starting phase. So I think it's going to grow and make a big impact. As I feel like, but this is purely
yeah,
my understanding of this the current options that Mendix has in AI. It really helps starting developers.
yeah,
So for me, if I have to write some prompts, I could have probably done it
yeah,
like manually quicker.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, there is like lots of stuff going on with tools to help you as a developer.
yeah.
And then of course people wonder what kind of AI powered solutions can you deliver with Mendix?
Hmm.
And well, as an MVP, I love to explore like new functionalities
Yeah,
in Mendix, and they have been working a lot of bringing um, options to build
yeah,
AI powered solutions with Mendix. So Mendix just introduced like their Gen AI resource packs, and then they have all sorts of templates and things that can help you, for example, as a Mendix developer, build agents.
uh-huh.
So I think that's pretty cool that like low code tools, you can actually build AI powered
Uh,
solutions without having to use
yeah,
external things. So I think in the future that's going to be able to generate a lot of value because I already see some use cases where I definitely would love to implement that.
uh,
But also that being said, I I really think there's so much value to be gained from having most companies don't have the foundation to actually build AI powered solutions on because they just lack the digitalization of the processes. They're working with like really old legacy systems. So I feel like there's even more value to be gained by first
yeah,
dealing with those problems. And when you have the right foundation, then you can start thinking about, these AI powered solutions as a company. So
yeah,
I think it's going to have big impact, but start with the foundation
yeah,
first.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with all these platforms, like you said, obviously most of the features might be more for the juniors. I think what the important thing for the platforms is just to make sure to stay ahead and in the game, they need to roll out something as soon as possible, just so in your
Yeah.
conversations you can say, "Look, we've got this and
Yes.
that," right? Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
yeah,
But it's
Hey,
also it's a philosophy, right? So
yeah,
it's the philosophy we as a company also have that you build something MVP and then
yeah,
you extend on it, right? So it's also like
yeah,
that with the AI tools in Mendix. They start small and fairly simple, and then you extend on it, get feedback, and understand what people actually using and what
Yeah.
they're not using, and then yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And shifting the conversation towards, something I wanted to kind of focus on, and which is why I'm trying to get, more women to be guests on the podcast as well, is obviously, women and tech is a conversation going on for years, right? It's
Yeah.
just, it's a constant thing and battle. I'm interested to know kind of, have you kind of had any challenges in your career, and, how have you kind of navigated through them?
Yeah. So, I don't know if I would call it challenges,
Mm,
but there are definitely things that are different
mm,
if you're a woman in tech compared to when you're a man in tech. So, I always felt like I had to like prove myself a little bit more to get that visibility or
yeah,
recognition that you are actually an expert. So, um, for example, a situation that I encountered many times is um, even though I am the expert in the room, or even though I'm chairing a certain meeting about a topic that I'm the expert on or that I
extra, yeah,
prepared, when there's questions, people always first look at my male colleagues.
yeah, yeah,
So, you know, people do that unconsciously, right?
yeah,
They don't have bad intent or they
mm,
don't want to be mean to you or whatever. It's just this whole, they are not used to having women in the room.
yeah,
And what I always try to do is I'm not taking that personally.
yeah,
So I always assume that people have the best intent.
mm,
And then I let my actions,
yeah,
my work speak for me. And
mm,
then they don't have a choice but to recognize that,
yeah,
right? So that's what works for me. So I don't take it personally. I think that
yeah,
would give you a very hard time if you think that's
yeah,
personal. But that being said, I don't just let it slide
mm,
because I think the important thing is to create awareness because people just don't realize they
yeah,
do that. So I pick a moment, like a suitable moment, and then I just have the conversation with my male colleagues, like, "Hey, do you know that
yeah,
that you're doing that, or
yeah,
did you notice that the other men in the room were doing that?" And then they were like, "No, no," and then just have that
yeah,
peaceful conversation with them, and not a confrontation. I
yeah,
think that's the most
yeah,
uh, important thing.
yeah, and you're right. I think it's one of those things where it's not done intentionally, but it's something that's still happening, right? So,
It
and I think,
is,
yeah,
but
and I think,
yeah.
yeah,
It is, but there is not a lot of women
yeah,
in
yeah,
IT, and
yeah,
usually I am the only one. I
yeah, I
am the
can
only one
imagine,
in the
yeah,
room,
yeah,
so I don't blame them. It's just
mm,
they're not used to it.
yeah,
But yeah, creating that awareness is, I think, the most important thing.
yeah. Even that when sometimes I see on LinkedIn the day after an in-person user group and people post all the pictures, and there might be at most one woman in the picture, if
Yeah,
if any, right? So
yeah,
it just shows, either that it's male dominated, or just the women choose not to go to those
yeah,
user groups because they know what the environment is like. Even though those people don't purposely do that, it's just something that
yeah,
obviously they've encountered a number of times, and they would rather
yeah.
not
I
go through
mean,
it.
you need a certain level of confidence
Yeah,
to be able to deal with that, and that's not something I ever struggled with.
yeah, yeah.
So it's easy for me to say like, don't take it personally and just deal with it. But yeah, I know for especially if you're not as confident,
Yeah,
that is pretty hard. But I also think confidence comes with experience
yeah,
and it comes with time. So just go to those groups and just
yeah,
speak during that meeting and make that mistake, and the next time you'll better know how to
yeah,
deal with it. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you obviously mentioned that, like you said, there's not many women, but what unique perspective do you think women bring to software development, and especially, you know, low code, and like you, obviously you did it kind of straight off, but there's women who could be later in life looking to change their career, and low code
Yeah.
can bring the barrier down and open more doors. What would you say kind of, are those unique things that having women in the space helps?
Um, I think it's just women bring a different way of thinking to the table. Maybe a bit more collaborative thinking, for
Mm,
example. Different way of solving problems, different questions that we ask, just because you have a different view on certain things. And I think that's really, it's really important. So, um, and like you said, I think low code can really lower that barrier for
mm,
women because you don't have to fit in a certain mold. Like you don't have to have like so many years of
yeah,
coding experience or whatever. It's easier to start. Um, yeah, so I think that's that's what I think. And please, like women, please come because please come into IT and uh,
cool.
um, technology oriented fields because, like I said, we need once you are in a room in an IT meeting and it's 50% women and it's 50% men, I think the whole perspective changes. And by stepping uh, into this like IT branch, you are paving the way for the next
Yeah,
generation
yeah,
to feel more comfortable,
yeah,
right? Because then it's more common for women to be there. So the whole atmosphere and whole way of thinking will change.
yeah, yeah. I agree, and
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview more women, because obviously being in recruitment, we come across many positions we may hire for where I know firsthand that women that are qualified for the role won't apply for certain reasons. One being
yeah,
they may look at the company and see that the company's already, that team is male heavy, and do they want to
yeah,
be a lead of a male heavy team, or someone in that team they might feel is more senior than them, so do they feel guilty coming above that person rather than kind of backing themselves and saying, hey, I know what I'm talking about, I can
yeah,
confidently do this role. So we need more people who can create that awareness and say, like, you can do it. And I think it starts
yeah,
from, like you said, not confronting, but in these situations, just lightly pulling someone aside and making them aware of a
yes,
situation. um
definitely.
and obviously if it doesn't go well, then that just shows you the person you're speaking to, really, not really overall. So um and then with other women who may be considering to get into tech, what advice would you give to someone looking to kind of break into low code, as a woman?
Yeah, good question. um, I think you will never feel if you think you want to make a transition, I don't ever think you will feel ready. So don't wait until you are ready. Just do it and experience it. And making a transition doesn't mean that when you don't like it, there's no way back, right?
Yeah,
So Um, if you feel like that's something you're interested in, just go for it. Try different things. Well, you can try development, like local development, but there's also lots of other roles
yeah,
you can start with, like start with maybe a product owner or
yeah,
start as, UX design or whatever. And
mm,
then you can try all sorts of different things. And then maybe you find out that development is something you want to do, and then
Yeah.
that possibility is also there. So, um, and I also think that it's important to, or my tip is to find a good mentor. So find a mentor that supports you, that understands you, and that understands that men and women need we are equal but not the
Yeah.
same, right? So
Yeah.
we learn maybe differently, or everyone learns differently. It doesn't even
Mm.
matter if you're a
Yeah.
man or women. Like,
Yeah.
find a mentor that really is on your level, and that can really help you forward. Um, yeah, and lastly, I think that female perspective is really needed in this field,
Mm.
um, and it will lead to better solutions in the end.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, if you come into tech, don't try to fit in a certain idea of what you should behave like, or
Mm.
how you should, carry yourself or whatever. Just bring your authentic self.
Yeah.
Um, Trust that it's valuable and that you are valued, um, even when you're still learning. Um, yeah, I think those
Amazing.
are the
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Great. Great. And lastly, one thing I like to ask, obviously, all my guests is, and probably especially where you are, being in such a early stage low code adopting country, there must still be so many people who are skeptical about low code.
Yes.
They're very skeptical. What would be your message to those who, I think obviously in the rest of the world, low code is pretty well known. It's even if I think about when we started 7 years ago, there was more people who had to explain what low code was before we even got into the platform. Where I think
Yeah.
now it's a much more well known. What would be your message to those who still think low code is low value?
Um. So yeah, I get the skepticism, right? Because local platforms, like in the past, they could be quite clunky. And
Yeah,
if you still have that image of low code, then I can understand that you are hesitant or skeptical. Um, but yeah, nowadays you can really build like complex stuff with it. And I always say to people that are skeptical about it, like, just try it,
yeah,
and see what you can do with it. And if you're open to it, and I think that then you can really experience what it can do. And you can also experience how fast it is. And in the end, it's about delivering value, right? So
yeah,
if you have this tool that which you can deliver value quicker, why not just give it a chance,
yeah,
and see what the result in the end looks like. So, um, yeah,
yeah. And,
just
and
try
like
it.
and like you and like you said, I think about having more and more use cases will only help that conversation, right? When you can show people, look what's been delivered here, look what's been delivered
Oh
here. Then
yeah,
there's obviously also, okay, not maybe not Australia, but some of the brand names that are delivering projects with Mendix, which are global known businesses, should
yeah.
surely raise eyebrows of others who are thinking, okay, well, if they're doing it, it can't be that low value.
Yeah, exactly. It's more than just simple like forms or
Yeah,
workflows or whatever. You can build basically anything with it these days. So, yeah, I think these success stories also really, really help, to be able to show that.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate you being a guest. Thank you for sharing, your very interesting journey, very unique journey as well. And, it's great to see kind of, someone taking risks and kind of, relocating, going to a country
Yeah.
that's not really that big on low code to start with. You've left the home of Mendix, the Netherlands, and
Yeah.
gone to somewhere that probably saying what's Mendix, in the first conversation. So I appreciate you sharing that. And, maybe, sometime in the future it might make sense to talk again and see how things have evolved and changed.
Oh yeah, I would definitely be open to that. So yeah, I think changing. Things are changing rapidly here.
Yeah.
So I think in 1 year we can have a completely different conversation,
Conversation.
and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
maturity will be much
Yeah.
higher, and I will
Yeah.
have lots of new things to tell. So
Amazing.
yeah, I'm really positive about what the future holds here in Australia for the Mendix ecosystem, and yeah, thank you for
Amazing.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank